How's it going, everyone? Adam Bongiovanni back here with another Thursday video for you on OnlineBookClub.org's official Facebook page and YouTube channel. Now today I'm here with the great Larry Schneiderman. I'm going to be talking to Larry, who is also a business expert and the award-winning author of Nobody Knows in the Call of the Couch. So let's jump right into this. How's it going, everyone? Adam Bongiovanni back here with another Tuesday, no, is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, a Wednesday interview with the great Larry Schneiderman. Now, for those of you who don't know Larry, he's a business expert and an award-winning author of both The Call of the Couch and Nobody Knows. Larry, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Did you use the word great, Adam?
Yes, the great Larry Schneiderman.
Okay, God, I can get my wife to be listening to this.
You could send her the link after this and we can make sure she now calls you the great Larry from now on.
I don't think so, but thank you.
Hey, as long as you get dinner tonight, right?
Right, exactly.
So Larry, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I feel like I always know the authors before I talk to them because I do a little bit of research. But I guess we'll jump right into things and we'll start with The Call of the Couch. So maybe just give a brief description of what The Call of the Couch is all about.
Well, the origin, I think, is important. On my 60th birthday, we were out to dinner with some family and friends. And my middle daughter said to me, she said, so Dad, what's on your bucket list? And I hadn't really thought of, I knew the movie, of course, I knew what a bucket list is, but I hadn't really thought of it. And we talked a little bit more, and I was sharing a couple stories about my dad with her that she thought were hilarious that she'd never heard before. And the fact that he started the business and they did what they did when they really started with less than nothing. And it just, I felt I had to get this in, I had to get it in writing. I had to get this in down. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't envision, writing really a book. At the time, I realized I had so much material, and I enjoyed doing it so much, I just went ahead, and made whatever it is, a 280-page book. So my bucket list, my bucket list was to write the book, and then I had a second item on the bucket list was to take a trip to Greece and bring my kids with me. And then the third was, here I was 60 years old, I never smoked pot. So, check.
I have to ask, Larry, how was it?
You know what, I'll tell you, I enjoy beer and wine, and I've never been a smoker. I didn't smoke cigarettes, so I really didn't get a benefit of it. My youngest daughter was trying to teach me. We all went out to our cabin and around the fire pit, a good safe spot, and she was trying to teach me to do it. So it was something to try, but nothing I need. Hey,
you know what? I feel like if there's nothing more that a family can do is they share new experiences with each other. So that definitely counts for something awesome.
Well, it's part of the family legacy or history because it does come up in conversation.
And it is a great conversation piece. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
So you're trying all these new things, and you're kind of like, as you get older, you're growing and you're learning more. Now, writing this book, how long exactly did that take?
Well, I can't really say exactly, but roughly 2 years.
Okay, wow.
I think it's a good number, and sometimes people ask, well, how many hours? Who knows, But I'm very proud of the final product. It won some really good awards, and it's kind of because my heroes are my mom and my dad, and it really is a fitting testimony to what they accomplished.
Wow, and that's such a great way to pay homage to people you respect and care about, especially if it's your parents. So now, is it interesting to you that so many more people are learning about your family, whether it be your family's history, but the business that you guys built up and that you were a part of since you were a 15-year-old kid?
Yeah, I think that there's still a certain amount of intrigue with the American dream. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean perhaps what it once meant with a lot of people, but you know what? There's still large sections of the world that people, again, that have nothing at all could wind up building something that was a strong foundation for further building yet. I mean, to start this store out in the middle of nowhere, like my mom and dad did, and ultimately it was a successful business already when my brother Russell and I bought it from our parents, and then we built on it. But it was amazing what they did. I mean, there were 6 of us kids. We lived upstairs in the store, the 8 of us, and 1 bathroom.
Wow.
And I had 2 sisters plus my mom, and the clothes washer was also in the bathroom. So,
wow.
You know, if you were a modest person, that probably wasn't what you needed to be in a Schneiderman family.
Wow, but I'm sure that what you've taken from that and living in those confines and living and working on with this business at such a young age, you've probably learned so many different things that a lot of people really can't relate to, and that you could kind of bring into the lives of others by writing this book and putting it out into the world. Is there a lesson that you still apply every day that you learn from, whether it be working for Schneiderman's or even running Schneiderman's?
You know, I think, you know, most people, if they had parents that were involved with them, dare I say they loved them, you know, they influence us every day, whether we realize it or not. You know, there were a lot of lessons I learned from early business that we applied to the business as we got bigger. And certainly one of them that I felt was important was called the law of the farm. And that's simply that no good things in life happen without attention. You know, if you're going to grow crops, you have to till, you have to water, you have to weed, you have to do all those things, and you can be successful. On the other hand, weeds, they just happen all by themselves. No work, no nothing. So in life, if you want to accomplish whatever you want to accomplish, you know, whether it's worth it or not to the person, that's up to them to prove. But I definitely think that you look at the long term and what's worthwhile, what stays, what's important are things that you have to work at.
No, it's so true though. If you really want something, you're gonna work for it, I guess, and you have to be willing to sacrifice to get to that point. So you were 15 when you started working for your family business, right?
Well, you know, all of us, you know, got involved in the business. I was 15 when I sold my first couch.
Wow.
And I just, you know, I loved the furniture business right from the start. Made people feel good when they bought things that they know were going to work well. And my dad was very, very strong, and my mother on customer service. And, you know, I mean, I felt we were doing a good thing. You know, it was more than just about making a buck or surviving. So, I liked it right from the start.
That's cool though. I'm so infatuated with how people, I guess, when they have a family business and how it really molds you, because you're really thrust into things pretty quickly, a lot sooner than most people are. So how did you, and this is one question I had when I first discovered who you were in the book, how did you remember everything from going all the way back and working for so many years? Did it all kind of come rushing back, or did you just have a pretty solid memory?
You know, that is a great question, and I've not been asked that often, but actually, what really helped was my mother had started a journal.
Ah.
And she also at some point, you know, like you said, their business was already fairly well known in that area by the time that they had sold it to us, and it was quite a success story. And so there had been an interview with the Duluth News Tribune. And my mom had cassettes made of it, and I had those cassettes. So I had that as a basis, plus a number of the stories in the book. And it's stories people like, you know.
Yeah.
And those stories were part of the Schneiderman's family tradition, you know. And as goofy as some of the things that my dad did in that era, things that I wouldn't think to do today or even 20 years ago, they were my dad, you know.
Yeah.
He worked in the steel plant for 21 years. You know, he was kind of, as they say, salt of the earth. And those stories in there they taught me things.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it at the time, but really my dad was doing what he did to try and teach me. And, you know, that's one of his legacies.
Wow, that's so cool that it's not only a book, I feel like, that people could learn from a business point of view, but they're also learning about this family who is coming together, and really you guys had to come together to run this successful business. If you didn't, it would have fallen apart. So I feel like there's so much you could take from your first, and that was the first book you wrote, right?
Right.
Call the Couch was the first book. So let's move on to Nobody Knows. Now this came out almost a year ago to the day. Give us a brief description of Nobody Knows.
Well, first, the title is Nobody Knows. The subtitle is What We Sweep Under the Carpet.
Mm.
And the protagonist is grows up in the Iron Range, which is a somewhat hardscrabble culture, and iron mining, that sort of background. And so he grows up there, and although they good family, solid values, he moves to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. He becomes befriended by a man who owns a carpet store, and a very kind guy, and he kind of becomes his son that he didn't have, and he becomes successful through a number of things, but especially what happens to him is he gets off track, he embezzles some money, he gets involved in some relationships that aren't right, and he is somewhat of a fallen grace kind of situation. And I'm very proud of the character development. If you read the comments on Amazon that people have written, some have said, I don't know how you kept those characters apart, how you tied them all together, but they said for reading a novel like this, it's a little larger than a typical book these days. The fact that they really developed into interesting, unique characters, somewhat unpredictable with what happened. And then the other point would be the fact that the protagonist, his name's Jake Horton, he along the way gets Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
And so there's been some interest that way for a kind of a more interesting way for people to find out more about Parkinson's disease if they have maybe someone in the family or something, and they want to read something a little less dry. So that's the other aspect of the book that's somewhat unique.
Wow, the cool thing about this, Larry, is that it feels like you went from writing one book, and usually when people write their first book, I feel like they don't stray too far from that if they're going to write a second book. It seems like you went in the complete opposite direction and wrote another successful book, and I'm sure there's things that you could relate to both, but how did you go from writing about your family and writing about this non-fictional story about what you went through in your business to this story that was completely different?
Yeah, well, fact is that after I had some success with the Call the Couch,
yeah.
I was kind of thinking opportunity, and I just a lot of people say it, and I said to myself as well that I'd like to write a novel sometime, and so but I had that a little bit of success, so it gave me something to build on.
Yeah. And
most people, of course, when they do write a novel, they're going to go towards what they know about. Obviously, they're not. It's not nonfiction. It's not historical. But the fact is, it gives you a basis to start.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I got to tell you, I absolutely love doing it. I couldn't do it enough. I get up very early, and you talk about writer's block. I never had it once.
Wow.
In fact, when I turned in the book, the publisher was over 500 pages.
Wow.
And he said to me, he says, you can't publish a book like that today. People just don't read that much. And so I wound up trimming it down with a good editor, to like 375 pages. But he said to me, he says, well, Larry, what's name a book that you like that's fiction? And I said, well, you know what? Prince of Tide's probably my favorite. I've read it twice. And that's like 1,000 pages. He says, hey, that guy won a Pulitzer Prize for that book. Are you saying your book is going to win a Pulitzer Prize? I said, I didn't say that. But I think there are people that like something that has a little more depth, a little more meat on the bone. And that's what I think I have.
I love it. That's so cool that you never had writer's block. I feel like that's like the universe's way of saying, keep writing books, Larry. We're not stopping you anytime soon. So, and that brings me to my next question, and it might be the last question of the interview. What book do we have next, Larry? Because it doesn't seem like you're slowing down when it comes to writing. So what should we expect from you next?
Well, I'm taking a deep breath right now, but fact is, I love some of the characters in Nobody Knows. And one of the things that's unusual about the book, I had a long conversation yesterday with a friend of mine, and she says to me, this is on the phone, she says, she just finished the book, and she says, do men really think like this? Because you see, it's written so that, again, the protagonist is telling us, it's first person, he's telling us what he thinks about all these things, different women and that sort of thing. And so it's generated some real fun that way as well. And so for a second book, if I was going to do it, what I'm thinking about is there's two sons. One's a son only biologically. The other son was, kind of your basic achiever. And I think I'm going to thinking about putting the two of them in war, both with carpet stores and seeing what they can do. So
that's awesome. I'm already sold, Larry. I need this book now. You can't tell me that, and now it eventually has to come out. I don't care if it takes half a decade. Just let me know when, and I'm reading it.
Okay. Well, we'll have a tape of this. So.
Exactly. It's on. Yeah, exactly. It's recorded. There's proof. It has to happen now. It holds up in a court of law.
Okay, well, I'm going to give it to you free.
Well, I appreciate that so much, and I'm going to hold you to that. So, Larry, where could the viewers find you? Whether it be on social media, I know you have a website. Where can everyone find you?
Probably the best is LarrySchneiderman.com.
Got it. Perfect. And everything's there, too. I know your social medias are attached on your website, so we'll send everyone there. Larry, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much, and I really can't wait for your next book.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you've made this a lot of fun. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Larry. We'll be in touch, and I'll talk to you soon, and thanks again.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Larry. Wow. Honestly, talking to Larry, and he was such a kind-hearted person, but he's so successful in so many different avenues. Successful writer, successful businessman, and I feel like he's very successful with his family the way he talked about them. Obviously, we only talked for 15 minutes, but you just get that vibe. He's such a caring, good-hearted person, but he's also so talented and has so much to offer to the world. So guys, read Call the Couch, read Nobody Knows. I'm going to link everything below. And Larry, thank you so much for joining me. It really was an honor to talk to you. I hope you guys learned something. I know I did, and I'll see you next Thursday.